guys, now we're back talking about what are some of the things that we do, kind of the limelight, the silver lining out of this issue. What are some of the current policies and interventions that we have in place that help us address GBV in a personal level, community level, society level?
Good.
BTN.
Okay. I was kind of hoping it's not me too. Interventions. So, policies, of course, the government has a number of policies that govern us. So we have the Sexual Offences Act, which is one of the wonder boy around here. So everyone applauding it because it's kind of shaping up conversations. But in terms of intervention, so I don't know whether I should talk about what we do or
Yeah.
But then on what we do, our focus is in one thing. Our focus as Respect. I lead an organization called Respect, which is reproductive for sexual programs for Kenyan teenagers. And we have a number of goals, but I'd like to summarize them into one: teaching the teenagers how to negotiate. So according to us, we believe if everyone knows how to negotiate, we wouldn't have all these cases of sexual violence and stuff. So in this aspect, so we have cases of, like, let's say, intimate partner violence. So how do we get there? Maybe it's because some people don't know how to negotiate their way out of sex. Like somebody wants something, you don't know how to say no to it. What does no means to other people? So majorly in our intervention is we train our members to be facilitators for teenagers. Then when they go to teenagers, they just facilitate workshops. And the conversation is around, so you as a girl, so when somebody says, can we, let's say, can we go home with me? And you don't want to go home with them. Or just, can we have a walk? And you don't want to have a walk with them. So how do you say no? Because most of them would not necessarily agree, but they don't know how to say no around it. So they will like, I hope he understands that I don't mean it. So how do you negotiate out of some tough situations about it? So that's all around what we do. So clarifications of things and then just how to have conversations around. That's what Respect does, I would say.
Okay.
Good idea. Policies in place. I think there are a lot of policies which Bidian has spoken into, and the laws and policies have to work together because basically they're just trying to shed light on the government's promises and actions towards this particular agenda and how to provide a framework to achieve the objectives. And Bidian has talked about the Legislative Sexual Offences Act, which basically talks about sexual violence as a crime. It has children protection as well. There's the Children's Act, there's the Penal Code. However, I think the SOA doesn't acknowledge marital rape yet, which is something that we hope it does sooner. And when it comes to interventions and what we do, particularly if I talk about SEMA, is that we are working with young people because when you teach a child the way they should go, they won't depart from it. That's what I believe in. And working with young people to create awareness. We have awareness creation forums where we are discussing issues to do with violence. We have that to create a safe space for youth, which includes both male and female, to come and talk about the issues and how to solve them and recommendations on how we can actually progress in terms of eliminating violence. We have training programs that we do. We have mentorship programs in schools that help us to just talk to the young people as they're growing up on issues to do with self-awareness, because when you know yourself, you know the things you stand for, you know your right, you know your values, and it becomes hard for you to depart from such kind of value-based systems to go towards a violent kind of path. So we have mentorship programs in different schools, and we focus on schools that are not really, what's the right word to say, just schools that are not really in urban centers, so that we're able to give them that kind of education, because I don't think a lot of schools value sexual education, and it's not something that is maybe culturally very well welcomed in different places. So we do that through mentorship and just partnering in different people. We talk to campuses. We have awareness programs also in campuses and universities where we talk on policies, we talk on what's going on in the school, and we just sort of capacity build also the staff that's there. We have also a project with old people. It's not just young people. In Lodwa, I think, and in Kakuma, where we empower the women. Because what Bidian said was the dependency aspect is what leads to a lot of people remaining in violent circumstances and situations. And so we have a farm there where women go and just work hard there and have their own produce where they're able to sustain themselves, and it makes them easier to leave such kind of hostile environments. So that's some of the interventions that we are trying to do in terms of eliminating violence.
Okay. And aside from that, I am sure there are, as you said, the medical legal parts for people who want to actually go the legal way and fight for their rights in court, and also the psychosocial part, which I believe you, or both of you guys offer, and then the medical part, which is offered in hospitals. What are some of the challenges or gaps that are there in putting in place your interventions, particularly in organizations?
Okay. So challenges I think I just need to go bit a bit based on what we do. So for instance, now when we go to teenagers, the setup of the teenagers, that we have to go through allowing the government to allow us to get into schools, to have these conversations, because that is the only place where teenagers are gathered in groups. So that's what the challenge is. So the tricky part about this is that the parents don't want to have a conversation with their kids. So like the sex talk you have with your parents, for me it was like, hey, I was Chana Vidian. Then so that's supposed to summarize the whole SRHR conversation between me and my parent.
Don't get pregnant.
So parents are like, the teachers should do it. Then the teachers are like, this is not examinable, so the parents should do it. These are not my kids, so the parents should do it. Kind of. So that's where we find the leeway for us to have conversation with the teenagers. So that's a huge part. Like this blaming the age part. So quite a challenge on who really should cover this scope. The other bit is on our curriculum. I'm not so sure our curriculum really gives a lot of weight on gender-based violence, especially in this setup, because now there's this child molestation that is known, and then there's so our curriculum doesn't tackle it in any way or any form. I think children need to learn things like self-defense classes. They need to learn those things, but it's not examinable, so it's not given a priority. Life skill classes are not examinable, so teachers don't see the essence of prioritizing them. So that's quite a bit on the curriculum and the challenges. And then on the campus level, so we started this thing called GBV, awareness clarification in campuses. So we've been training people in every campus. And there is a department and directorate of gender in every university, but there is no way of anchoring these people that are trained under these departments, because the department is supposed to run an academic program. So the whole process of implementation of what these people have learned, even as ambassadors, has a lot of bureaucracy within the institution. So they have to go to the directorate of gender, then the student union, then so it's a work in progress, but then things could be fast-tracked anyway. One of the things we are trying to tap on as Respect is art. So we started this inter-campus festival. So we go to campuses like we've done one in was in Gishu, Pwani, and another one is coming in Dedan Kimathi University, Egerton, and hopefully there's another university in the Coast region we're supposed to target yet. The challenge about this is the youths would come up with arts exhibitions, the skits, spoken word, all the artwork, and they would present their own version on how to prevent gender-based violence. But now, there's a very thin boundary between entertainment and information. So people will tend to enjoy this, but I don't know how much they're gaining out of that. So we are trying to find a way to mold them to a point where the information is as highlighted as the entertainment part of it. It's quite a challenge, because there's some jokes I would just watch on TV, and somebody cracks a joke in one of the comedy shows about gender-based violence, and then people would laugh. Yes, it's a joke, but the message in itself, it's sending, is very deterrent to what we are trying to push. Somebody says like, a man was beaten and went to a police station to report that the wife beat them. Then everyone would laugh about it. But you see now, that those are some of the things that are taking us back. Yes, it's a joke, but it's taking us back. So those are some of the challenges we are facing at the moment. Normalization of some of this.
We have basically some of the same challenges. What I can add is there's financial constraint. Obviously, there's human constraint, because a lot of people are not working on this as much as a lot of people are working on this. And the fact that we also have lack of knowledge. A lot of people are not aware of their rights. A lot of people are not aware of what it means to have your rights respected, you know. And so that's something that's also, lack of awareness is a big gap, because you can't report something that you don't think is wrong as well. And so those are the major challenges I can see as an probably organization.
Okay, and then what are some of the recommendations we have to curb some of these issues, if not all?
Interesting. Just one recommendation. I think I'm a big fellow on reaching the 10%. The 10% that the people that you can't easily access, the youth in the village, the elderly and stuff. So, and one of the basic approach that I'm trying to implement right now in majorly everything I do is the peer-to-peer education. So, I do believe like to reach out to women, I need to train women to train the women. So, that's kind of recommendation that I need to have. Like, if we need to get parliamentarians to pass some policies, we need to train some bit of parliamentarians on some of these things, and they can go to talk to them. Because this, I think, even the issues of cultural challenges, most of the challenges is outsiders tell a particular community that your culture is wrong, instead of training some people who understand that culture well to talk to the people within it. I think what I would push is people working on advocacy, they need to a little bit focus on peer-to-peer. And as a recommendation, I think the government doesn't have to be so stiff. You know, people are not made for the laws. The laws are made for the people. So things are really need to change around. So an assessment on what is really going on and a proper reporting mechanism, because one of the greatest challenges I face on GBV is when you have a victim, you need to report them to the system. And the system in itself causes psychosocial damage to the victim, because they have to reiterate the same story over and over and over. So as a recommendation, I think one-stop shops, everyone talks about it. We need a one-stop shop for GBV. We have Huduma centers for IDs. I mean, we need a one-stop shop for GBV. Somebody gets in there, the first person you meet sorts everything for you. I think that's it for me.
Okay. Just to add on a few things that he's echoed, I think we need more advocacy. We need to do more of capacity building in terms of also the service providers who are helping the survivors of violence, and also in terms of the trainers who are actually training people out there on what GBV is, because we have very many uncertified or very many people who don't even know what they're training on, but they're just speaking on something. So I think capacity building is important. I think also community mobilizing groups will work well, because most of the time you see GBV is a private matter. It's a family issue, so it makes it very hard for people to report, because people keep it as a home issue. But if we get the community on board to work together, it's easier for people to report, it's easier for people to help. And also when we're talking about community mobilization, it helps people work together in the same area where we have service providers who are different working together in the same area. It helps build the one-stop shop that he's talking about, because we're able to get help the same place. I don't have to come to Nairobi Women's in Kileleshwa, then I'm going to police station back at home. It saves on finances, and also it saves on a lot of costs. I think also we need to have more men-initiated programs, more youth programs that create safe spaces for people to discuss these things. And I think we also need to have more awareness programs on how you can get help if in the event that violence occurs, because violence cuts across ethnicity, race, social class, all those things.
Yeah, everyone goes through it, thank you so much. And just, what are some of the closing remarks you can say, like, we end it now?
I do.
Okay. That's it.
I always believe that there is a way where there is a will. So I will urge that anyone who has been violated, please report. There are very many avenues of reporting. Please seek help. There are hotline numbers that you can use. There's 116 for children and 1195 for adults, which are toll-free lines. In the event that you have mental health issues or you need to talk to a counselor, there's 1190 that you can use, which is also toll-free, and it cuts across, I think, different counties. And I will urge people to also just remember that people who have undergone violence are not victims, they're survivors. They survived a horrible ordeal and they're breaking through it. And I pray that one day we will have a country that is gender violence free. Yes, that's all.
Thank you so much, Vivian.
So I'll probably start with a statement. So for me, a closing remark. This is always a tough part of the conversation. So, but just as a starter, violence begets violence. So you, an act of violence would lead to only another act of violence. So for me, I think we need to have a serious community dialogue on value clarification and what really do we want as a community and as a country, and conversations around that. Because now we need to sit down and reflect what really we want. Because if we want to respect human rights, and at the same time tolerate some form of, it's not like the genders have to come to a middle ground on mutual respect. It's so normal right now to have communities and families where women are taking the lead. And taking the lead in itself, it's a little bit fictitious because it's more of a support basis. You support on this and the other person does this other thing. So it's neither here or there, but it's just a means to finding a middle ground for people to survive together. As an ending statement, I think one of the most important things that we need to do as a country is male engagement in ending gender-based violence, because the gender-based violence has a thing to do with both genders. So every action that we do and don't focus on the other gender, it's somehow detrimental. So men still have something to learn in engaging in gender-based violence. As women learn how to protect themselves, the men also learn how to keep up the values, how to take care of themselves, how to air their opinions, or even how to convince each other. So I think it's important that everything learns. And I think you will say your bit of closing remark. And thank you for your time.
We started with explaining what it is, and one of the statements that came about was hurt people hurt others, and just like Muga said, you don't have to, we all have a choice. And if you're hurt, there are always places. Muga has said some of the places you can go to, all free lines, there are organizations offering the services. And as I believe, every single issue has a silver lining, and that's why I said the recommendations are a silver lining, and every single issue can be solved. We just have to love one another, appreciate one another, embrace one another, and respect one another. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you to the two of you. Thank you, it's been amazing. I've learned so much. Till next time. Bye-bye.